actually on the xTuple website where they do a comparison of the different versions of xTuple. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm briefly focused on this now, and then I'm going to come back to it here and there throughout the presentation. So from a business vision and Spire, BVEssentials Spire standpoint, when we start off with the Postbooks edition of xTuple, which is the free edition, the open source free edition. Again, everything is open source, but for the distribution, manufacturing, enterprise, it's a commercial license. The only thing that we do not have in xTuple is warehouses in the Postbooks edition, so we don't have multiple warehouses, and we do not have serial numbers. Once you get into that, then you have to go onto the distribution edition. So that's just something to keep in mind later on when I'm going to compare pricing as well. And then I'll get a little bit into detail as to what other options, where xTuple is really far beyond in terms of functionality, the MBV and Spire as well. So to start, I'm going to first focus on the database a little bit. I have a Spire installed on this notebook, and then I also have xTuple, but actually I'll show on a server I have running here as well. So first to start with the database and security. So I don't know for sure what approach Spire, that the development team at Spire has taken, but I do know that in xTuple, all of the application security and also the database security, it's all one. So for any given database, I will have all the usernames that I can actually use in the database. They can also access the pgadmin and have access to the database. There's restrictions. Of course, you don't want to have every user inside of the database, so that you can restrict it. But the security is one. So if I have a user, let's say Gerhard, in the xTuple database that I can access it by, that is also a user that I can activate for the application. This is where Spire has taken a different approach. Spire, the user and security settings and all of that, that is completely separate from the database. So there's essentially one user inside of the application that they have created that does all the database transactions through that one user inside of the database. So difference there, I think a tighter integration into the database itself, there's advantages, and typically any modern application does that. Now, keep in mind, I'm not at one point do I want to talk down on Spire, but Spire is still largely, I guess, kind of bound by what it has previously been, and I sure know that they are going to be constantly improving the application. So eventually, I don't know, maybe it will get to that point. But that is one difference. So when we look at login roles here, I have two usernames here. So essentially, both of these usernames can be xTuple users. All I have to go and do is go inside the application and check them off, and then those are xTuple users as well. But then when we look at a Spire database here, here I have one that's in Spire Health. Let me just go and find this here. So login security. So here I have a username. It's called Spire App. That is a username that gets created when you install Spire, and that is the username that will do all of the posting in the database. So inside the database, I have no way of tracking which user posted a given transaction, except for by initial or something that they would add, like we are used to in Business Vision. So I have no way of knowing which user actually posted the transaction inside of the database. In an xTuple, I have. So in xTuple, we have full capabilities of logging users, and we can see exactly what the user did in the application and how it impacted the database. And again, Spire, we don't have that. We have just one user that will do all of the posting. So some advantage there for sure. The next one on the database, so xTuple is, from back in the days, as some of you may recall, we talked about thin client, and this was always just a thin client that was not an actual computer, but it could just be used to access an application, and that's all it did. So back in the days, I don't know if Business Vision ever did this, but I know that some other applications, all you needed is that thin client that was not a real computer. It was just, you could just access one application. That's how it was configured. xTuple is much more like that. Currently, when you install, or let's say you go and get the Postbooks edition of xTuple, when you get the application, you don't have to even install it. All you do is stick the folder, stick it on your computer, and double-click the exe file, and it runs. That is very often how just about any open source projects work, and basically meaning that there's a lot less to the actual application, and very often the logic and what happens in the application, it all works at the database level. So I'll show you a Spire database here. So I have here the Spire database, and here I have the public schema, and this is where all of the tables and databases are in. So here, when you're going to look, so I have 110 tables, I have 17 triggers, and 106. I have 106 sequences. So you can clearly see that there's a little bit of work being done here in the database. I have 81 functions. So clearly, the development team from Spire is making some use of that to have the to do some of the business logic inside of the database. But now, when I'm going to go and compare this to xTuple, the one difference you will see, this is a demo database. Yes, I do have some data here. The one thing you'll see in this database is all of the functions. Everything that the application does, it's all inside of the database. So for example, here when we look at functions, xTuple has 1,242 functions, 264 sequences. And then we have 273 tables, trigger functions. So as you can see, everything is inside of the database. So the logic. So for example, if I click on a save button in xTuple anywhere. So let's say I have let's go to a customer record. So let's say I have a customer record pulled up, and I make some change in here, whatever it is, and I click save. When I click save, that actually, what it does, it engages the logic inside of the database. One of the functions will be executed by me clicking on the save button. This is now different in Spire in that when I'm going to go into Spire and click on, and I had Spire installed here. Let me actually start it up. Just a second. So when I'm going to go into record in Spire and I'm going to go and click on save, whatever gets executed on the database, or when there's data being entered from whatever, whether I updated something or I added a new record, the business logic, the execution of that logic that makes that happen in a database, that's inside of the application. So it's inside of Spire. Basically, what that means is that when installing the application, again, all the logic is inside the application, and it just makes the application, in a very simple way of putting this, it makes it heavier, or it makes it, there's a lot more to it. The code, again, everything that the application does, it's inside of the database. So there's a lot of advantage over that, and it just makes an application a lot more faster. You have more capabilities for remote deployment, for integrating other third-party applications, because you're not relying on what the logic inside of the application will do. In the xTuple side, again, because one of the things too, it's open source. So then one of the things as well is that I can actually literally go inside of the function here and can say, let's see, what function can I say? Adjustments. I'm not sure what that function does, and it would be described here. I can literally go and look at this function here and actually go and say, I'm going to go and edit this function and take a look at what it does. Versus Spire, we would never have access to that kind of level. That code is all compiled inside of the application, and we have no way of actually looking at that and seeing how it was done. So that's a big difference between the two applications, and that is definitely where xTuple is very strong in terms of building it out. Currently the mobile client has been under development for 3 years, and they're able to do some very nice stuff there with mobile phones for the application, just because the logic is all inside of the application, inside of the database. Sorry. So that's one. That's a big one. Now I'm going to get into a bit more of the details. So let's see what I'm going to cover next. I covered users, covered the database security, and covered the application logic versus having the logic in the database. Now I'm going to go into filtering, and if I cannot, oh yeah, so I don't know if I will be able to start Spire here. I have BVEssentials running, so it's essentially the same thing. BVEssentials, so starting at a filter list. Let's say I'm going to go here and just go to customers. So here's my list. I log into the application, I click on customers, and here's my list. I'm going to go and do the exact same thing on xTuple. Just close this. And when I go to accounting, I have my customer icon, but that will actually open up my customer cart. And these icons are all customizable. You can actually add new ones and take icons away. So based on, this is just default icons here that you would get out of the box when you set it up. So you could have an icon here that would also open up the customer list. But in this case, I don't have anything customized. So accounts receivable, I'm going to go to my customers, and this is my list of customers. So now we're looking at the same part. You will see that when I clicked on my customer list in Spire, where is my, hold on. Why is that hiding on me? Oops, now I cannot get out of my server here anymore. Just a second until I figure this out. There we go. Let's move this over. There we go. Now it's going to let me do this. Where was I? Okay, so in Spire or in BVEssentials Spire, when I click on my customers, I am still inside of my main window. Once I double click on a record, then actually it pops out a second window, so it opens up a second window. Very similar, but as you will see when I go into xTuple here, the customer list itself actually already open up a new window. So that's a modern way of doing applications. BV, as you know, we're in one window. If we minimize something, that minimizes within the actual application. It doesn't open up a new window. So that's a very old, outdated way of doing application. And as we know, business vision is old and going away. So here I'm looking at my customer list. So similar functions where you actually have filters. So in BV, we can and BVEssentials, we can build ourselves a filter to search for something. Very similar here. I can do customer, let's see, customer, contact name. The difference here is that in BVEssentials, we have more filters. So we have a lot more fields that we can filter by. But here in xTuple, you can very easily go, if you have the programming knowledge in the back, and you can go and add additional ones here. But it does require programming knowledge on the platform to do it. Well, by default, we don't have as many, so we don't have as much to filter by. So here I don't even have the actual, like a customer name. I can go customer number pattern. I can do, let's say, what customer, something starts with a T. So here I would say not quite as flexible, and that it doesn't come with as many fields out of the box. And the filtering maybe not quite as flexible where we have, let's take a look at something, street email pattern. No, it doesn't. Where we have the ability and that bar keeps on. In Spire, where we have the filtering a bit more flexible here. So I can go and say add filter. I can go and say name and contains is, or if I go customer number, you can see now I can use the drop down here. I can start typing ACE and it finds this based on customer number. I can add additional filters, name, and contains, or so as you see, many more fields out of the box. And we don't have as many in xTuple. As far as saving these filters and making them preset, so save preset, same functionality. When I go here and Oh yeah, so here, test. Oh yeah, there we go. So as soon as I have a test, I can now go and save my preset. So this is where I say test, share, and then save. There we go. So same idea, except for here, my filters, they are part of my list here. So whenever I come back to a module, they're part of a list. And in BVEssentials, we still have the ability to go and save our filter and add that to the module list. So it shows up over here on the side. So overall, from a navigation standpoint, I would give, if I gave Spire or BVEssentials a 5, I would give xTuple a 3. So navigation, you can navigate around a bit easier in BVEssentials versus xTuple. Drill down the same. So here, I think if I would give BVEssentials a 5, I would give xTuple maybe a 4 from a drill down standpoint. So for example, when going into a GL and we go into accounts, you usually have some right-click abilities, but you also have abilities to, let's actually look. Let's look at an accounts receivable just to see, so you can show one item here. From here, from an accounts receivable items, I'm able to go and click view journal entry. So I can see it right off the details. Don't have that ability in xTuple. So in xTuple, I can go in, let's go to accounts receivable, workbench, accounting. So workbench, the accounts receivable. So here, if I just go and query, it shows me everything, just like we see it in BVEssentials. And here, when I right-click, I don't have the ability to go and drill down to the GL transaction. So there's some of that in BVEssentials that, yes, quicker to get your way into drill down and finding items. Again, from a like screen, once you get to a screen to quickly see something, so these two, they'd be identical. We quickly get to a workbench. So essentially, in BVEssentials, I go to accounts receivable. I see it right off the bat. One difference here would be in xTuple, workbench, and I click on query. There it is. So that took me to the exact same place. One more click, I have to click on query. It doesn't populate automatically. So overall, from a navigation standpoint, some strengths on both. So navigation, just getting around a bit easier on the BVEssentials. When it comes to flow, to have a bit of a flow inside of your business and how information is done, how information is entered, I think xTuple would be a bit stronger. For example, in the sales, so here you have a flow screen. In this screen, you can customize it based on a business needs with the icons on here. So prospect goes to new customer, quotes to new sales order when it comes to shipping. So first, it's in the backlog, inventory availability. So a little bit of a workflow screen oriented. It has that in a number of places throughout the application. So from a workflow standpoint, a bit easier on the xTuple side. Just quickly backtrack a little bit. So GL entry. So from in BVEssentials, I was able to go right into my GL entry for a given AR transaction. Here you would make your way through and find it in your general ledger transactions. You do this from here. In terms of general functionality in the general ledger, here if I would give BVEssentials a 3, I would give xTuple a 5. Not because I think that Al and Peter and their team has done a bad job on BVEssentials, but they're still largely relying on how Business Vision does it. Even Inspire, it's still bringing a lot of that way of doing along. So then you have again, it's not because it couldn't be better or it isn't better. It's very well done from what they're working from, what they have. So they're bound by the old Business Vision logic in a number of areas. Just in general, how the general ledger is structured and how it works in the database and how everything gets linked up together. That is, I would, here again, I would give xTuple a 5, and then I would give BVEssentials a 3. And that's kind of the scale I'm going to use here when I do some comparison in terms of giving, comparing the two. Next, I'm going to compare, can you just hold on a quick second? Sorry, yeah, a quick distraction here. Where was I? Multi-currency. So here, in comparison to BVEssentials, if I would give a, so I would give a 5 to xTuple, I would give a 1 to BVEssentials and BV. Again, mainly because they are largely, Spire, L, Peter, they're largely, their method is largely, they're stuck on the way Business Vision does it. And xTuple does that really well. So number one, we don't have that reevaluation and the roll-up, which my experience has always caused a lot of grief among customers, and nobody really knows how to figure it out, or actually where we can logically look at some transaction, say, oh, okay, this is what happened when I did the reevaluation. Some of you may have delved into it deeper over the years and really tried to understand it, but it's very difficult to understand how the system does it. And I have since I started working with the utility tool that I'm going to show later on for converting data from BV to xTuple. I have spent more time on how currency is done in Business Vision, because I needed to find a way of translating those transactions into the proper currency. So the reevaluation, the roll-up, that's all gone. It does that on the fly. Now, some of you, I know I've had a discussion with a few, and I believe one person was Rita. She was quite animated at the animate about the fact that reevaluation and rollup needs to be an application. And I've done some research, and any modern application today, they just don't do it. As far as I know, QuickBooks has something. I don't know if they've done away with it, but I think it has something, but it works slightly different. From my research, it works slightly different than Business Vision, but it has something built in. So essentially what happens from a reevaluation standpoint, well, first of all, one, in Business Vision, where most of you often may have seen where your AR ledger in a non-base currency account or your AP does not add up to your balance sheet when you run it in both in the base currency, say in Canadian dollars. So it never adds up. And that's always been a problem. So I even had people complain to me and say, well, why does my AR ledger, when I convert it into the base currency, Canadian, not add up with my balance sheet? And I've never been able to exactly figure out why that was. So again, some of you may have delved in further, as far as studying it to see how it works, but a lot simpler in xTuple. And I won't delve into too much detail just because it's a bit technical. So I'll leave it at that for the currency. Anyone, any questions? I'm just quickly going to check the chat here. Okay, so BV Rob says, disagree with multi-currency. BV is excellent. Most clients, never mind accountants, have had a hard time understanding Multi-currency accounting, never mind how BV does it. AR ledger versus GL, all question of comparing apples to apples, plus it's crystal reporting assumptions. Okay, so BV Rob says he disagrees with accounting. Okay, so again, you may have a different take on it than I do. Cindy is asking, how does xTuple evaluate assets and liabilities to current rate? So this is where reevaluation comes in, and xTuple doesn't do it. So if you had to do any type of reevaluation, you would do a general ledger transaction to reevaluate those. That again, I am under the impression that modern systems don't do that. They don't have anything where you can reevaluate anything, and essentially if there is any reevaluation needed to be done, you do not let the system do it. You just do a general ledger transaction. Walter says a topic for another day. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it off at, and we could get together again someday and discuss the multi-currency. xTuple CRM. So we all know that we don't have anything for CRM in xTuple, and xTuple does it really well. Everything in xTuple starts off with an account, and I'll just do a very quick demo here. Everything starts off with an account in xTuple. So I have a given account, and inside of an account, you can say what it is in the organization. First of all, it can be an individual or it can be an organization. And then you have your buttons here where you can specify, is it a vendor, is it a customer? So CRM account could pretty much be anything in your business. Could be a prospect, customer, vendor, sales rep, employee, user account, competitor, partner, and you are able to add additional fields here, again, with some programming knowledge to say it should be something else that you may want it. So CRM, I would say very strong CRM, except for when it would come to more advanced functionalities, such as, let's say, running a campaign and tracking against a campaign, or doing email blasts from within the application. So that would be outside of the CRM scope of xTuple. But other than that, it does it really well, both for the desktop application and the mobile application. So then also speaking to mobile, we don't have anything, as you guys know. We are far behind on that in terms of accessing the application via your phone and natively via your phone or a tablet or whatever. We don't have anything. xTuple has been working on some great tools for 3 years now. I think it was a year in the making when I became certified, and that's exactly 2 years now. So they've been 3 years in the making, and it's an excellent interface for natively running the xTuple on any device: phone, tablet, browser, and then the desktop client, of course. And the good thing about it as well is that it is available in the cloud and also deployed on site. So there's no such thing as, well, you can do this on site, but you can't do this in the cloud, or you can whatever, vice versa. So it's equally available, exactly at the same level. If you actually, I am still halfway on this. I'm not big into cloud. I will always emphasize on-site first, but surprisingly enough, that I have a customer I'm working with right now, or a new customer, they are on BV 7.2. And for them, we don't want it in our building anymore. They are just like very animate about it. We don't want it on our server. We don't want to buy a new server. They have an old server that they need to upgrade. So I'm putting a package together with them for a server in the Amazon cloud, where essentially it's going to be running on a terminal server, and there's good abilities available to embed the RDP client in a Chrome browser, so they can run it from their iPad. But it's still well, it will be BVEssentials in this case. So I'm upgrading them from BV to BVEssentials from an old version. So they will be accessing this on a Amazon server that I'm setting up for them, and they'll be paying me a monthly fee for hosting this server for them and maintaining it, backups, and so forth. So I tend to be a bit reserved on the cloud. I think there's benefits, but again, there's a wide range of opinions. Walter, I think I know that that would be a big no for you. So yeah, everyone has their take on it. Again, beauty about xTuple, either way, when, let's say, we would sign up our customers and have them on a cloud, we have direct database access, reporting access. So it's like as if it was local, essentially just getting access to that server, and it's being hosted. And the xTuple cloud servers are hosted in the Amazon cloud as well. So that is very secure, and we have full access to database access. So Sage is restricting it for us to say, well, we'll give you the cloud, but there's still a lot of restrictions that we have in terms of accessing that database then and working with our customers to do reports and so forth. So our service revenues, it's virtually impossible to even have a lot. And so here, it's fully accessible. Again, if cloud is not an option, it's available the same way and locally hosted as well. Report running between BVEssentials and BV, and xTuple. If I gave a number to report ease of report running between BVEssentials and xTuple and also doing reports, I would give xTuple a 3.5 and BVEssentials a 5. So 1.5 point, whatever. BVEssentials, we have a bit more interaction when we do reports. So let's go in invoice and order here. Where do I have my button? Oh, this order hasn't been converted, I think. Invoice, and I'm going to say proceed. At this point, hopefully it will work here. Oh yeah, there we go. So here in BVEssentials, I have a dialog pop up where I can say what it is that I want to print. So I can select my reports. And then I have all these options: print, email, print and email, preview. And then I can also go and send it to whichever printer I want as a default one. And particularly good thing about this is we can preview. In xTuple, we do not have that option. It's not as flexible. So one, if you have the emailing ability, you have to have a module installed. That's an additional module that you added, completely integrates into xTuple, but it's called xTuple Connect. And then you have the emailing capabilities that we would have in BVEssentials. And when doing a record, when it comes to printing it, if the customer is set up as email, it will just default to email. We'll also give you the option to print it if you want it. But there's no such thing as, let's say at the order level, first to preview a report and then decide to email it, or have the ability of selecting multiple reports and print them all at the same time. There's nothing like that. On grid view screens, yes, there you have the ability also to preview first or send them to the printer. You have that option as well. So there it would be similar. But again, when it comes to selecting multiple reports in what you would want to, say, sales order or whatever it is not as flexible in xTuple. Which other one? Let's see what else. Sales commission, at the most basic level, it already does that better than xTuple, where you actually can set a sales commission rate per salesperson. But then we have the advanced sales commission module in xTuple, and that goes far beyond what anything in Business Vision ever. So it actually does calculate commission based on configuration, based on product category. You can go and have a certain commission for one customer, say one customer of this product, or one salesperson of this product, they get 10%. The junior salesperson gets 5%. So there's all kinds of variables that you can use to configure for sales commission. And literally compares to xTuple, we don't have any of that in BV for sure. BVEssentials, I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked at that and see if there's a lot more for that. Just quickly going to go to the chat. Okay, no one has asked any question. Anyone, if any questions, just feel free to put them in the chat window. What's next? So reporting. So back to installing. Very easy to install xTuple. You can download the exe file and then just install it, in which what it will do, it will install Postgres and configure it for you all on its own. But if you deploy it with a customer, you can, and which is recommended, you go and do the database first, and you configure the database, and then you start with a clean database. And all you do at this point is you take the client, the xTuple client, and if you don't use the mobile version, you take the mobile client, the desktop client, and literally, like in this case, I'll quickly go and find it here. I think I have it in my downloads. No, desktop. So literally here, I have my xTuple folder. Where is it here? Oh, no, I don't even know for sure where I have the xTuple right here. So literally here I have my xTuple 4.6.0 version of the software. Literally all I did, I copied the folder here. You download it like this. It has a few DLL files in it, and you go and copy the folder wherever you want it on your computer, create yourself a shortcut to the exe file, and that's it. So it makes it really easy to upgrade. So can you imagine, I have a customer on Business Vision, and they are literally 30 to 35 users. So can you imagine, I have to go and upgrade them to a new version. I have to literally go and touch 30 workstations and sit there and do the install and next. Here, literally, you can go and take the folder and delete the old one, add the new one, and you can do that through even through, let's say, a group policy or something that would literally make it a matter of 10 minutes once you have the group policy set up to upgrade all of your computers across the board. So it makes it really easy. So here, if I did give some numbers, I would say BVEssentials 1 and xTuple 5. So it's really flexible in this area. Let's see, somebody's asking a question. He's asking me regarding posting an invoice in most systems. Let's say Bell Canada. Well, in the xTuple system, I don't have. I'm sure I have an account that I can do it. So sure, let me do that here. Let me do a demonstration. So I will do this in BVEssentials. BV, we all know what it would look like. So I'm going to do this in BVEssentials. So let's post an invoice in accounts payable for, well, whatever. I'll pick a company. So new, and I'm going to go and say my reference invoice number. Non-type. Oh, and I'm getting an error, so that's not good. Uh-oh, crashing on me here. I just installed it on this laptop today. So all right, I have Spire here as well, but it's not loading the server engine. Let's start up BVEssentials again. Okay, let's try this again. Accounts payable, new, and reference terms. Okay, oh, there must be a bug here. It's crashing every time. Oh, that's not going to get us too far. Okay, let's do it in Business Vision. I will have to report a bug to Peter. Let's do this in Business Vision then. Oops, where is Business Vision here? Okay, so I'll do an invoice in AP. So Bell, vendor, and I'm going to go and say new, reference number, and my GL account that this is going to be going to. That is set per vendor, and that is the same in xTuple. Except for here, I could very quickly go and say I want to send this to a different GL account. And now I will have to just do it on the other system, make sure. I don't think it's as easy. So post, I just posted a $100 invoice to Bell. And now let's go and do this in xTuple. And as you can see, I'm logging into xTuple. It is lightning fast, pretty much. Okay, so accounting, workbench for payables. So here it's called a workbench. And I'm just going to select any vendor I think I only have one here. Yeah, T parts. Any vendor, I'm going to go and say new miscellaneous. There's a difference between new and new miscellaneous, so that's a little bit different. Amount to distribute, I'm going to say $100. Here I don't have taxes set up, so it won't, oh, actually there's tax set up, but I don't know if it will add any. Invoice number, which was the reference number. One little neat feature that I really love about xTuple is in any date field, anywhere in the system. If you do a 0, it goes to today right away. So if you do a -10, that goes to 10 days ago. So you can do -100, and that will take you to 100 days ago. Or inside of the month, so we are October right now, I can do 15. That takes me to 15. So a very quick way of doing dates. I really love that, and I will one day suggest to Al to adopt that for Spire, because it's a nice little feature. So a vendor number, reference, whatever I would want to enter here. New. Actually, yeah, here I was wrong. So in BV, we are able to, on the fly, to send it to a given GL account. Here, this is what I'm doing here now. So in BV, I would at this point be at the screen. It's one screen where I enter all of the data, and I would post it, and it would go to the default GL account. Here, there's one more click, so new. And then here, I'm going to go and send it to a given GL account. And if the vendor had an assigned GL account, a default expense account, that would pop up here. So we wouldn't have to go and find that expense account. So that would be the same. So I'm sending to this GL account $100, and I'm saying save. And save. And I come back, and I have to still post it here. So post voucher. So in BV, I just clicked on the new button. I entered my reference number, invoice number. I entered my amount. And by default, it populated my expense account, and I click post. Here, I did new miscellaneous, did new here to say which GL account it should go to, save. Then now I have to come back and click on post. And it tells me what the distribution date should be in the GL. So I click on continue, the default. Now, keep in mind that, as you can see, it was at least 4 more clicks to get it done here than in Business Vision. But keep in mind that here we are already one step further from a batch posting something. In Business Vision, if we do, let's say, AP, we can go and pay one vendor at a time. Batch posts, we have to go into a different function to batch post. And then when you go to batch post, is a completely different screen. And here it's actually all on one screen. So I click on open vouchers for this customer. I click on payables, I query, so this is the only one I have. So here I can actually go, for this vendor, I can go, if I had more here, I can go and select multiple invoices that I would choose, and then I can go and say approve line, approve all due, approve all discounts, clear approvals, apply all credits. So I have a lot of abilities here to say what I want to do. And then ultimately, when it comes to printing the checks, I can go and batch print my checks. So I have all of, let's say, in payables here, I approved everything for all of the customers I wanted to approve today. Once it's approved and it gets to the selection, by the time it gets to the checks, I can just go and highlight all of my checks here that I have just approved and said I want to print, and click on print. And if I have that checked off where it says after printing to post it, then it prints your checks and it posts everything. So bit more flexibility here, I think, in how we can manage multiple vendors and multiple check printing in one check run, let's say. But as you saw, it took a little bit more time for me to go and post a voucher. 4 clicks versus 1-2 clicks in Business Vision. But still very intuitive, easily to see. Let me see, who else is asking questions? Select the vendor first. Yeah, you're right. So I selected a vendor first. That would be the same in BVEssentials if we were just doing it from the grid, exactly the way I did it. So that would be the same in BVEssentials. In BV, we are already inside of that record in the AP module, so we do not have to select a vendor first. Gerhard, you need to pick a vendor. Okay, so Rob says the exactly same thing, yes. Excellent. That shows me that xTuple is geared towards a much bigger organization, at least for AP. That's true. That's true. I've asked Al if, so I'm training a brand new customer, well, someone I'm converting from BV DOS training them on BVEssentials right now. And one of the questions that came up says, can BVEssentials batch post checks in AP? And so the question is no right now. I asked Al about it, and he says, no, we're not going to do it in BVEssentials. It will be implemented in a future release of Spire, not in the first version. So yes, I agree that that xTuple, generally speaking, it is geared towards a big organization, but it really depends, and it's a question of how comfortable you are at recommending xTuple. So let's say you are certified, like myself. I'm certified in xTuple and I'm certified in BVEssentials. Generally speaking, I will recommend, for smaller businesses, I will recommend BVEssentials. But at the end of the day, when I'm going to go and make that recommendation, and I have my 30 user customer that I use as an example, they will be a xTuple candidate, and I'm actually already demoing it for them and stuff. It's more up to me to go in and say, well, even though I may think that BVEssentials does things nicer in certain areas or xTuple does, once I've made a recommendations, and it's going up to me to go in and then I train them on what it is. And again, if you have the programming knowledge, there's a lot of easy ways how you can go and customize a screen. Literally, I actually have the ability that if for my version, and if I gave someone access to this, I could actually literally go and move this print button down here because I don't like it on top. So at the screen scripting level, all kinds of options. I can easily add a new tab here that would give me some kind of information that I would add. So from within the application, we can go and customize it versus what we're used to from Business Vision or even BVEssentials and Spire for the time being anyways for Spire. What we're used to is we have to add a third party, so that becomes a separate screen to log in. So again, here in xTuple, I can, from within the application, customize it, and it just becomes an extra button. So then it is not like training somebody outside of the application on some other function, and they still are in here in xTuple for their every day-to-day function. So that too, from of course, from having the ability of customizing it, I would have to give Spire a 1 and xTuple a 5 because it does it really well. And again, considering that it's open source, at the database level, you can investigate what certain functions do and try to maybe replicate them for your integration that you may want to do, or use some of that. And so a lot of all the source being available, that's a huge one in my view. See anybody asking questions? Oh, Walter says that it crashed because will prevent the crash. Maybe select the vendor first. You didn't. That's why it crashed. Curious here. I mean, I would have. Oh, it's still in the middle of crashing here. Let's see if I can close the program. I suppose I'm getting an error. I'm not sure I would. I've been training somebody on BVEssentials, so I've actually reported a number of bugs in the version, and there's been a number of fixes in the last 3 weeks or so. So I was in accounts payable, and what I was doing new. Okay, so yeah, you're right. I didn't select the vendor, but then it doesn't let me. It's grayed out. Okay, so I don't know. Something is not right here. So I would expect that it should not crash here. Get vendor number. It says, yeah, so obviously something is not. So it's grayed out. So something is not 100% right there. I will actually go and report it and let them know. Any other questions? One other quick thing, I'm going to be showing some of the financial side of xTuple for generating statements, income statements, and balance sheets, and so forth. Very flexible. I really like it the way xTuple does it. And it does the same on certain other areas when it comes to reports. So did I? Here? Okay. So an income statement. So when I go to financial statements, very flexible on how you can customize your financial statement here. So I have my official income statement. Let's see, I'm sure I have a little bit of data in here, I think. Let's go 2014. Account number 0. I may have had more data in here than I thought. Short to say that no, see, xTuple will crash on me here too. So then at least there's side-by-side compares to both are crashing. So then we know that neither of them is perfect. Not sure, seems to be frozen. So income statements, you can actually go and build it yourself and what it will look like. So currently in any financial statement, and most of them in BVEssentials or BVEssentials doesn't have any income statements and so forth. We have to customize a crystal report and generally maybe just stick to the default one. And here you can actually go and build it yourself. So you can build it and what it will look like. I actually wanted to show. No, it seems to have crashed on me here. Wanted to show what that looks like. Okay, let's go and start it up again. Now it won't start. Somewhat going on. Okay, so we can look at some more details. Let's see. And I want to quickly show this, and then I want to look show the conversion. So accounting, and then financial statements, and then view financial statements, and then let's say a basic income statement. So edit this. Oh, I can't add it because that's the default one. Let's go into one that I can add. Official statement, edit. So here, you can actually go and build it. You can go and do the row layout, the column layout, and then you can go and say which accounts are revenue, other revenues, cost of sales, the different types of expenses. And you do all of this when you set up your general ledger. You actually specify which accounts they're part of. And you can very quickly go and take and say, well, I want the expenses for automotive, for auto, I want them split up from the rent or something. You can very quickly go and build it yourself here, and just so essentially it's all interactive on the screen, and takes a little bit of learning, but I really like this option here and how you can structure your financial statements. So that's a good option. Last, I will be talking a little bit about the conversion tools that I'm working on from Business Vision. So essentially what it's going to be, it's going to be an Access database that I have started, and it's already long ways on its way. And essentially what it will be, it will contain, I'll close this, here I have one query. It will contain forms like this. It won't be a pretty database. I won't pretty anything up because it's just meant for converting the data. But it will be the Access database like this. We'll have forms. So here it says finance migration. So then I have a button that says find duplicate GL accounts. That is some consolidation that needs to happen. So for example, again, going back to the currency of xTuple, because it handles it differently, it doesn't create GL accounts in each currency. So it's just the main currency and it's all into one. So there's some consolidation that has to happen at the GL level, but the queries do all of that. And essentially what this does here is find a duplicate GL account, meaning that you would be looking for an account that is a Canadian and US account. And then the query will do it all for you, where it will actually consolidate that when moving over into xTuple. So what it's going to be a database full of linked tables, and you will just basically have to create an ODBC connection to the BV database and create an ODBC connection to the PostgreSQL database. And you will then come to this form and have the buttons. And here, as you can see, I've started describing what this does and what kind of implications it will have. And then you will be executing a number of queries. So essentially, you'll just go and say design view. You can preview your data before you do this. So you'd run the query, and this is the data that would get exported into xTuple. And you would come back here and you would just go and say run. will run the query. It will convert the data. So I'm doing these queries so that all the data will be converted over into the database format that xTuple is in, and you will execute these queries, run them. Then there are certain things that you will do in xTuple to just say, for example, the GL transactions, when they get moved over, they still have to be posted into xTuple. So you'll run this query, you'll go in and select the records in xTuple, and then you will hit the post button. And I did the ABC database, did the GL transactions. I converted all of that over for the 3 open years that we have, like last, this, next year. I did that conversion, and it literally took, I think, maybe 10 seconds or something like that. So if you're looking at a bigger database and you did all these GL transactions, it could likely take, maybe 20 minutes or something for the GL transactions. And so you would be running this in order. So we'll have a form for financial migration. So then it will, you'll execute the queries. Just click buttons here. You won't have to go to and find any queries. And so you'll just work your way through it. That's what it will be. Simple as that. So my plan is, once this database is done and now it's ready for whoever wants to convert an xTuple database, I will be charging $2,800 for this database and hand it over, and help with that, include support to help like, let's say, a partner who is doing an xTuple conversion, help them with the conversion. From a price perspective, I would like to hear some feedback from you guys to see if I'm way off. I think it's very reasonable in terms of the work and the amount of time I'm putting into this. It is a lot of work to translate data from one database to another one. But we'll be able to convert everything. Sales history, that I've already looked into. I'm not done yet with that part, but I'm able to convert that. Anything that's open AR, anything that's open AR history, I haven't looked into it too much. BV doesn't do that very nicely. So as you know, all that linking mess that we can do in BV, that's going to be it's going to be a bit of a challenge to try and do history. So I have not touched the history. Rob is asking, what about customers? Yep. All of that will be done. Customers I'm already largely done. There's still a little bit remaining in what I have to do, but all of that will be done. Will all be in here, yeah. With the conversion, it may also very well be a good time for a company to decide to do some cleanup. So one of the things that you could potentially do with the queries, you could say, okay, they want to export all vendors from their BV database that are currently active in Business Vision. So you can very quickly go and take that access query. Let's go back to it again. Very quickly go and take that access query and just open up the query that would say import. That's this one. This is the customer one. You could go and say, look at the design view, just from Business Vision, from the table, go and drag it into your list here and say only include the ones that are active. And then when you would execute this query to take the data over to xTuple, it would only include the ones that are active. So essentially that's what it will be. And again, the access database, most of us, I think just about everyone here has experience working in access, and then this is not going to be a long process where you have to go and use some tool or have a long drawn-out process trying to do that. It will be a matter of executing queries and helping the customer along, and perhaps with some data cleanup. Some records, they may very well, inventory records that hasn't been active for years, they may very well now want to bring them over. So that's what it will be. Any questions? Cindy is asking, any detail open item AR and AP? Well, yes, absolutely. Anything that's open. So obviously we would want to, I will be ensuring that our balance sheet that would show us what's open in AR and AP, that would match with what actually will be exported. Now, here's the challenge, and I know that, Rob, you mentioned here that for your customers, the AR and AP ledgers are always in balance with your with the GL balance sheet or GL ledger. Some customers, I never pay attention to it because they don't care, but I think if I could literally go and maybe think of 10 to 15 customers today, and I doubt that a single one would be imbalanced, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't paid attention to it, but I actually quite often see it where it's not imbalanced, and as long as it works for the customer, that they don't go by those numbers on their financial statements, um, then I don't pay attention to it unless they ask me and they ask me to fix something. Yes, open sales orders and POs, of course, that will also all convert. I think I already started on that here as well. I have some queries that I have started and I haven't finished. I kind of go back and forth. So financial history, all GL transactions from the 3 years that are open in Business Vision. The last is next. All financial transactions, like GL transactions. So that means that once you're done taking your the 3-year financial information over to Business Vision, over to xTuple, if you would run income statements and expense statements side by side, they should match identical. Like it should come to the number. I did the ABC company, and that did it matched to the number. Sub should always agree to the main. Yes, I agree that sub should always agree to the main ledger, but I've run across a number of them that don't, and I know I can think of one customer, his doesn't, but they actually kind of manually generate their financial statements, and so then we don't. They never asked me to fix it. But yes, totally agree that sub ledger should always agree with the main ledger. But again, I see places where it doesn't. BB Rob, very impressive. Okay, so he likes the Access database. $2,800 is well worth it. I may have a couple clients ready to do that in the new year. So yeah, okay, good feedback. Thank you, Rob. Just kind of wanted to get some opinion in terms of whether $2,800 is a good number to aim for. So thank you, Rob. Any other questions? It's a little over an hour, so wanted to try and keep this to an hour. Any other questions? Doesn't look like. No one is showing okay. What about payroll? Okay, yeah, important question. No, xTuple does not do payroll. There is an integration to a payroll that is being developed by a company in BC. It's also an open source payroll company project. So you have the open source. You have the open source that you can use, just like xTuple. If you went onto Postbooks, you could also use the open source payroll as well. Rob just posted. It's called TimeTrax Payroll. It's a company in NBC, and there is a connection between the two. Now, I haven't seen a connection. I haven't had anyone, but yeah. And it by itself, yeah, xTuple does not do payroll, and they are not planning on doing it. It takes on a whole different approach. So the TimeTrax is a really good option for payroll, and it's very comprehensive. It's a U.S., Canadian payroll, tax updates, very comprehensive. So yeah. Any other questions? Anyone? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so I have recorded this this webinar. We'll be making it available. I think I'll be posting it to YouTube. So for those of you who like to review, I know a few people emailed and said that they couldn't make it. So I will make it available on YouTube and send the link to the video to the people who wanted it. Thank you very much for joining, and any questions, and I do look forward to the multi-currency debate with Rob and Walter, perhaps. So let's have a debate on that one, see who's going to be right. May as well do it in the forum. All right, thank you very much. You guys have a good afternoon.